an agreement between the CEO's office and the retirement system, so I'm not sure how we proceed on that. And then the other issue is to adopt the boards that are recommended by the Retirement Board of Supervisors. Adopt the rates that are
Right.
recommended by the board.
The recommended action is recommended the Board of Supervisors approve the retirement system actuarial study and adopt the retirement system contribution rate. So that covers both of those issues, I think.
No, you
No?
have two items before you. The first one is to adopt the actuarial study.
Right.
And then you have the second item is the funding agreement. You have two items.
Separate item, right. Okay.
If I could, in my mind, I think we need to do the funding agreement first, because the actuarial report that we've asked you to, the rates that we've asked you to adopt include elimination of the funding, or amendment of the funding agreement. So I think we need to do that first, and then we can adopt the rates which include the amendment of the funding agreement. Does that make sense to you?
Say that again.
The recommended rates that were adopted by the retirement board are rates after the funding agreement has been amended. So do we have to do that first?
Yes.
Okay.
I see what you're saying. So address the funding agreement. Now, according to the 2002 resolution regarding the pension obligation bonds, the funding agreement, the board had given authority to the CEO and the retirement administrator to execute the funding agreement. But since it's been such a long time and we are making an amendment, we thought it would be prudent for the board to at least review the amendment. But according to the resolution, it's really the CEO and the retirement administrator that actually execute the documents.
Okay. Supervisor Delbar, comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before we move into the approvals, could you briefly describe, and I know it's explained to a degree in here as far as the factors that go into the determination, but why, for those who don't have the benefit of reading this and nor understanding it completely, why we are increasing the rate on the employer and actually decreasing the rate on the employee? You can flip a coin, I don't care.
For one thing, the employees are not responsible for any portion of the unfunded liability. The employee's rate is determined by their entry age into the system, and entry age
And their salaries and their expected termination dates.
and our assumed interest rate, I think, is
Right.
factored into that. But they have no responsibility at all for the unfunded liability. And as I was looking at the report, the decrease is the result of a change in the cost of living portion of the retirement. We offer a cost of living raise to retirees, 3% a year maximum, and all of the decreases that I saw were evidently the cost of living has gone down a little bit.
Thank you.
Let me add one thing to that. Employee rates usually go down when you have a lot of new entrants into the system because the average age goes down, and the younger the entry age of a participant, the lower the rate, because there's a longer period over which to accumulate their benefit.
Okay. Supervisor Pinches.
Question for Tom. On the agenda summary, it says here that this is budgeted in the 08-09 budget. How that's already been plugged in?
Right. Allison, go ahead.
Allison Glass, the Assistant CEO. Yes, this coordination with the budget process, getting these numbers then, these were included in the salary projections, and the costs have been spread to the departments as they construct their budgets. So in point of fact, some of this increase will be borne by federal and state funds. It'll be proportionate to however a department pays, what revenues the department uses to pay their employees. That is the total amount of the increase, and then as you spread it through all the departments, there will be other revenues besides county general fund that go towards that.
What'd you have to kick out to put this in?
We didn't have to kick anything out. That discussion will happen during the budget conferences.
Supervisor.
Just a comment to add to that. I believe during our last discussion with our same partners here that we actually indicated that we wanted to go in this direction this year, and so I think that the executive office was already on board with that. It wasn't a board decision in fact, but I think it was more or less the thought of the board that we wanted to go in this direction when it was, explained to us in detail in terms of continuing to postpone this 10% that's in a sense off the table doesn't ever get us to where we need to go, and so we need to take this incremental step. And so finally, we have the actual documentation, and it's woven into the report that we do so this year, and we only get to 91, and then that's why we had to change the funding agreement, so it would mirror what we want to do with getting to the 100%, which was over an additional 9 years. And that takes us, I think, to the deadline Tim was talking about a while ago of when the pension obligation bonds would come due. I think it was the first one, right? So it would be synced with that date.
Yeah, well, the 96 pension obligation bonds are paid off in 2008 and 9.
Okay.
I hate to belabor this, but this is a huge issue, and in the column that says earnings above expected, in the last 4 years, the above expected revenues cumulatively are over $53 million. And I just have a real hard time, if your earnings are above expected in the last 4 years by 53 million, why do you gotta come after the employer for another 400 grand? I just don't understand this concept. I mean, I understand why the more money's in the retirement system, there's more to reinvest and the better returns, and that's gonna make your retirement system sound, but it gets to the point, I mean, it's that $400,000 we expect can do a lot of things. Like I say, we're up here arguing our last budget time over $40,000 for our library system to keep our library system minimally operational. And then all of a sudden we're going to dump another $400,000 into the retirement system that already has over 320 million in it, and they've had above earnings in the last 4 years of 53 million. I just think maybe this is the wrong time in tight economic times. I mean, it's important to me to keep county functions operating too. It's important to me to keep the retirement system solvent, but I don't think that's the issue here. I think when I was on the board before, it was touted that the Mendocino County retirement system was one of the strongest retirement system per employee that there was in the state, and I think it's still that way. So, I don't know.
Supervisor Smith.
Well, Supervisor, there's really two issues here. I think Mr. Knudsen could give us a short view of what the earnings might look like for '08. We're not very far into '08, but he can certainly tell us where we are with that. So we're not going to have the number to add to the mix vis-a-vis what would be going into the smoothing component for the next 5-year view. So there's that issue. But the bottom line is, I don't think we've maybe captured to the degree that we need to here, is these are funds basically owed the retirement system from the county. These are county liabilities created once upon a time. And the reason that the employees are not bearing it is because they didn't borrow on their contributions. Their contributions went in. The county, with its juggling act that it's done over decades, is the one that decided to juggle money. So it's the county that is responsible for these dollars, not the employees and not the retirement system. And we need to step up and do it. And that's why the recommendation that you'll see is item number 4 on page 19, that we step up and we actually do that in an incremental fashion. So that would be, no one would expect that we could go to the 16.66